All right, so thank you everyone for coming. So I'm assuming everyone here already knows me, but my name is Ethan Chang. This is my capstone project for 909 in the MSGIST program here at the University of Arizona. So my project was on an Arizona harm reduction pharmacy web map. So let's just get right into that. Uh-oh, there we go. All right, so first things first, a little bit of background. So what is harm reduction? So harm reduction is the principle of taking people who have very specific medical needs in the context of drug users, and providing them medical services that are catered specifically to their needs. So that demographic tends to deal with things like increased risks of HIV, hepatitis C, things like stigma, trying to get medical care. And so harm reduction is this national approach to try to provide appropriate services for this very specific kind of demographic. So I work with the harm reduction research laboratory with Dr. Beth Meyerson. And what kind of kicked this project off was this need, which was expressed to the harm reduction lab, that this need for a comprehensive web map that showed every pharmacy in the state of Arizona and the harm reduction services that they provided. So Dr. Meyerson last year reached out to the GIST program, who then connected me to her, and I've been working with her to create this map. And so that's what this map is about. And then we just see on the screen as well, there's this acronym DPRAB, which stands for Drug Policy Research and Advocacy Board. And that's the board that really initiated this map. All right, so initial data collection was not conducted by myself. It was conducted by Dr. Meyerson and our colleague Rosalie Gordon, who's an undergrad here at the University of Arizona studying pharmacy. So every pharmacy in the state of Arizona was contacted via phone survey. 2 contacts were made per pharmacy, and the results were recorded and submitted to a team statistician for processing. So there was a lot of data that just wasn't associated with me. But once we collected all this information, we needed someone to take it and put it into a map, which is where I kind of stepped into it. So this flowchart illustrates my kind of primary workflow. So in the beginning, I received a raw kind of initial geocoded data set from the team statistician, which I then converted into a points feature in ArcGIS Pro. When I examined the geocoding conducted by the statistician, there were some geocoding errors. It was not her fault. And I'm going to get into this a little bit more in the next slide, but in the interest of time, I'm going to keep on going through this. So after I finished geocoding, I documented and reported on certain trouble points or question points, then refined that, prepared it for use as a hosted feature layer in ArcGIS Online. I uploaded that hosted feature layer, created a web map based off of that hosted feature layer, created a web experience based off of that web map. For those of you who aren't unfamiliar, these are all just different products within the kind of ArcGIS catalog that you use to create these kinds of products. I created a feedback survey on survey 123 to allow users to submit feedback based on the map, and then connected that to the web experience and finally published the web experience. So to get to that geocoding process, back to that. So there were 922 pharmacies that we recorded in the state of Arizona. And unfortunately, I had to do this manually. So it took about 9 hours of manual correction. So the very first thing that I did was I ran that XY kind of coordinate table, the Excel sheet, into ArcGIS Pro. It spits out this point layer. And as you can see, a lot of those points initially ended up in the middle of the road. This should be in a building. I think this was a Target pharmacy, so it should be kind of off over here somewhere. But it would map ideally to the center of a building on the base map. So what I had to do was go in, manually correct every point, and then upload that and spit that out. So for the sake of time, I'm gonna move along, but we can get back to this if in the question section. All right, so now I'm gonna actually show you the final web map. Takes a minute to load, but here it is. So I'm gonna zoom into Phoenix and just give a quick overview. So in the right-hand corner here, you can see we have a legend. The blue point represents pharmacies that participated in the survey, and the orange point represents pharmacies that did not. The color palette is important to note here because the orange-blue allows for colorblind accessibility. The original idea was to use a red-green color palette, which was something that I pushed back a little against because it's not red-green colorblind friendly, and it's important to be able to differentiate the points. So in the lower left-hand corner, you can see initially a welcome message pops up, and this just describes a little bit of the process. It describes the tools and how to use them, because there's a lot going on here. And what's nice about this is you can just close that and it won't reopen again until you click on the little welcome button again. All right. The next thing I'd like to draw attention to is in the upper right-hand corner, there's a search bar. And what's nice about this is you can search for pharmacies, or you can search for general addresses. So, or even just general spaces. So I'm actually going to search for the University of Arizona. We click on this once. It'll drop a pin. And this is just a general address. And then if you click again, it activates this tool at the bottom. So at the bottom here is what we've been calling the radius tool. It allows you to find pharmacies within a general area. The default setting is 5 miles, but you can shrink or raise that depending on how you feel is appropriate. And it also allows you to order pharmacies by name, by address, and by nearest pharmacy. So if we just go into pharmacy by name, you'll see that all of the pharmacies contained within this circle here are listed, and it orders them from closest to farthest. If you click on one, the point will flash, and the map will pan to that point. The same can be said for pharmacies by address, and then with closest pharmacy, it just highlights that point. So I skipped over the filters a little bit, but these filters allow you to filter the tabular information based off of how you apply them. So we can filter strictly for survey participation. Move back over to Phoenix. And you can see all the orange points have disappeared from the map. You can search for things like dispense HIV medication. And you see, too, I unclicked the filter survey participation filter. But now it's only showing blue points again. So these filters do stack on each other. And that's nice. And it's interesting. You can see that pharmacies that dispense syringes without a prescription in Arizona are very limited and few and far between. So this was a major talking point that we discussed in some of the prior presentations that I had with some of the harm reduction agencies here in Tucson or in Arizona. So you can also click on a point, and it pulls up the kind of all the relevant tabular information. So it starts with the location, and then all of the filters, and again, the same order as they appear on the filters list. And then it gets into more granular location information. Moving on, this is the feedback survey created in Survey 123. So it allows users to leave feedback and report if they're having an issue. If you leave anything other than 4 stars, or other than 5 stars, my apologies, it offers a section for you to add improvements and discuss improvements. If you need to report an issue, it asks you what device type you're on. So we would choose desktop in this case. You would zoom in and find a pharmacy. You click on a point. And then it creates these drop-down menus that allow you to just fill in the information. So this is nice if you don't know what your pharmacy is really, or don't know the address necessarily, but you know where it is. You can still report issues. And then it asks you to describe the issue and leave additional comments if you'd like. What's important about this distinction here in the device type section is that if you choose something like mobile or phone or tablet, it doesn't show that little inset map. And that's because on mobile devices, the inset map just doesn't work very well. And so this is kind of our temporary workaround for that. But again, it allows you to record your pharmacy name, pharmacy address, and then move on. Recently, we added another link. This was just a couple days ago we added this. So this is a different survey created by, not by me, but it allows you to leave specific data or feedback specific to certain pharmacy issues. So this is intended to be used specifically by pharmacists reporting on their own pharmacies, or on whether or not they want to add their pharmacy to the map. So again, I'm not going to really present on that because I did not create that. But that's the gist of the map. Getting back into the presentation. So next steps. So we have a QR code here. I encourage you, if you're on your phone, to take a look at that. That will take you to the map, and that'll open up the mobile version of the map, which is formatted a little bit differently. There are some menus that are kind of tucked within other things, just to kind of help that along. And I will say too, right now we are experiencing a lot of difficulties with the online version, or not the online version, the mobile version, which unfortunately I have limited control over, but we're doing our best. So in terms of next steps, we are interested in improving the phone accessibility, which is what I just mentioned, and which is what you will discover for yourself as you're looking through it. We want to explore options for embedding this map in a website. Currently, it's a standalone map, and it's a little tricky to navigate to if you don't have this very long link. So we want that to be embedded in a site and a web page that's more public-facing and more publicly accessible. It'll also be a good option so we can declutter the map. So some of those links that appeared in the header, we can kind of move those off to the side if that is on a website. I do have to train the harm reduction research lab because I am graduating. I will not be maintaining this. So other people have to know what they're doing. So that is in the works. And then kind of in tandem with that, we just have to prepare for long-term support. So finding people to help maintain that, getting people trained on how this map works, and kind of the back end, which I did not present on in this presentation, but they're going to need to know a lot about that. So with that, I'm pretty much out of time, and I think we can open it up to questions. Thank you.